Good evening, everyone. We are now on the Gemara on the Lamed Zayin of Aleph. The Elinish of the Eruvin Sanjels, Tvarfeg ben Shmuel, Nachman ben Chonom. The first then Yachmir then into the Basha. Ik ben nog Aloya. We gaan best. And okay, let's begin here. So the Gemara said that Rabbi Yehuda does not hold. The reason why Rav wanted to we're up to Lamed Vav Lamed Bet on the bottom, Rabbi Yehuda does not hold of Breira. And that's why we wanted to maintain that the Breita of Ayo, which indicated that, is the correct Breita. And the Mishnah, which seems to hold that Rabbi Yehuda holds of Breira, is incorrect. That's what Rav said. And the reason why we would maintain that a Breita is correct and not a Mishnah is because we have a proof from another Mishnah that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold of Breira. Again, the concept of Breira is that something that happens in the future retroactively, we can assume now that whatever I'm doing now is what I will decide in the future, even though I don't know what my decision is yet. The Gemara says Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold of that. The Tanan, bottom line, now we're turning to Lamed Zayin of Aleph. Someone buys wine from Kusim. This is before they made a gzeira that you're not allowed to drink wine from Kusim. At that point in time, you still were. However, the Kusim did not take off Truma and Ma'asrot. Omer. So how does he take off Truma and Ma'asrot? Simply, he would take out some of the wine, put it into a cup, say this is the Truma, which is a 2%, which would mean 2 lugin out of 100 lugin. If the barrel holds 100 lugin, that would be 2%. 1/50th is 2 lugin out of 100. Then he would take off 1/10 of the remaining for the Ma'aser Yishon for the Levi, which would be 9.8, and then you would be left with 88.2 left. So therefore, if you would be left with 88.2. Then you take off another Ma'aser Sheni, the second Ma'aser, which you can eat yourself in Yerushalayim in purity, would be 8.82. For the sake of keeping it brevity or short or keeping whole numbers, the Gemara uses the number 9. So the Gemara says, Omer Shnei Lugin, he says, 2 Lugin Shani Atid Le'afrish Harei Teruma. But the problem is, this guy does not have a container. So he wants to take a drink of the wine, so what he does is he separates the wine. Now he says somewhere in there, somewhere in the container, somewhere in here, Shnei Lugin, 2 Lugin out of the 100, which is 2%, Shani Atid Lehafrish, and in the future I will separate Harei and Teruma. They're right now Teruma. Okay, so now he's fixing, now it's turning non-tevel. It's being tithed produce. Asara Ma'aser Rishon. Then 1/10, 10 of them, it's really 9.8 of them will be Ma'aser Rishon. Somewhere in there, and Tisha Ma'aser Sheni. The next 9, which is really 8.82, will be Ma'aser Sheni. Umechel. Umechel means that he actually redeems the Ma'aser Sheni. The Ma'aser Sheni, since I'm able to redeem the Ma'aser Sheni onto money, unlike the Teruma and the Ma'aser Rishon, therefore you should do that right now. If you can get rid of the holiness in wherever that's floating around, then you shall do so. But after you do those 3, Vishotem Miyad, drink right away, enjoy. And when you get new vessels, then pour out 2 lugin into one vessel, 10 lugin into the other, and that's it. And then we say that whatever you poured into those new vessels, now retroactively it has been clarified. That's what Breda means. It has been clarified that is those ounces, those specific ounces were a liquid, were the ones that you took off when you said so. And therefore you can drink, because what you're drinking is something else. Divrei Rabbi Meir. But Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon, Ostrin, they say it's asur. Why do they say it's asur? Because they say ein bera, meaning we don't know retroactively that whatever you separate at the end is the one that you meant at the beginning. Not necessarily. It could be the one that you drank. So therefore, since you can't do bera, some say that you can't even separate anything now. Not that it works, but you just don't know where it is, and you might be drinking it. But more others say that you can't even do it. So therefore, but it's based on the fact, it's all predicated, this opinion that say that it's asur to drink the wine on the notion that the ein bera, there's no retroactive clarification. And one of the Tanaim's name is Rabbi Yehuda. So you see clearly that you would not be able to do the trick in the Mishnah of 2 Eruvin and say wherever the Chacham comes from, that's the one that right now I decided. Since Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold the Brera. And that's why Rab says that our text in our Mishnah that Rabbi Yehuda holds the Brera is incorrect and the Braita is correct. Ulomar, but Ulo, however, argues with Rabbi. He says, that we don't have ayo. Actually, ayo's Braita should be deflected and give way to the Mishnah. That Rabbi Yehuda says yesh brera. It says here in the Braita in the Mishnah that Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Shimon hold that it's asur, so they all hold that it's ein brera, and one of them, namely, is Rabbi Yehuda. Ula zuzi ktani. Ula divides the Braita, the Mishnah, into pairs, which means the way you read it, it's not Divrei Rabbi Meir and then Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Osrin. Rather, it's Divrei Rabbi Meir. The Gemara says right now, Divrei Rabbi Meir v'Rabbi Yehuda, Kamo, that hold that you could drink because they hold the brera. That's like our Mishnah. So keep the Mishnah. The Braita of Ayo is incorrect. That said that Rabbi Yehuda does not hold the brera, and Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon also, only Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon hold it asur. Okay, so basically we have a machloket, Rav and Ula, how to read that Mishnah, if Rabbi Yehuda holds a brera or not. And accordingly, we decide to deflect either the Mishnah or the Braita. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi ein brera, but what was clear in that Mishnah was that Rabbi Yossi held ein brera. Says the Gemara, how could that be? Vatnan. Rabbi Yossi omer shtei nashim shelaku et kinei be'erev. 2 ladies. And we know that a lady, when she gives birth, has to bring 2 korbanot of birds, 2 sacrifices. One is a chatat, a sin offering. One is an olah, which is a fire burnt offering. 2 birds. Chatat, olah. Now, they bought, 2 ladies had to go to the Beit HaMikdash. They both gave birth, friends. They bought two nests. Each nest has 2 birds. 2 nests is 4 birds. They bought it together. They paid for it together. They have 2 nests. Or they gave the money to the Kohen and said, you buy. And we have no idea, it's not clear which nest belongs to which lady. Okay? The Kohen could take any nest and any bird in any nest and decide this is the chatat for that lady, this is the olah for this, or both chatat, and this chatat and this chatat for this lady, this olah and that olah for the other lady. Whatever mixture he wants, as long as he gets 1 chatat and 1 olah for each lady, he can do that. So what do we see here? We see that Rabbi Yossi says, that Rabbi Yossi holds that there is retroactive clarification, yesh brera. Why? Because when the Kohen buys them and he decides, we say that it was right. Whatever he decided was actually hers. That's the one that she bought for herself. That's the ola that was for her. Okay? Because the problem would be that if the Kohen is bringing the wrong ola for the wrong lady, then the ola doesn't work for anybody. Each ola is the wrong one. For example, the ola. So even though, by the way, a chatat, the whole korban is pasul. If you don't do it for the right owner. An ola, the korban is kasher. However, it doesn't bring an appeasement, and the owner has to bring another korban. And therefore, it must be that if the Kohen has the right to do this, Rabbi Yossi holds that yesh brera. So how does that work with the Mishnah before that Rabbi Yossi says he doesn't allow you? Rabbi Yossi did not allow you to drink from the barrel by just saying that in the future I will separate through my master since there's no brera. So does the old ein brera or does the old yesh brera? Amar Rabba hatam shitkin kishihitnu. There, in the story of the birds, it's when they said clearly, they stipulated a condition, and they said, whatever the Kohen decides, that's the ones that we. If the Kohen decides this is my chatan, this is your chatan, this is my chatan, this is my olah, that's your olah, and that is what we're deciding now. That is what is happening now. Now the Rishonim, that's the way Rashi learns the Gemara. The Rishonim all ask Rashi, well, doesn't that need brera itself? That also needs the power of brera. The Gemara is trying to answer, really, Rabbi Yossi holds no brera. And that's why in the case of Truma and Meiser, he does not allow you to drink. However, here, it's not really brera because they stipulated. Ask all the Rishonim, that also works with brera. How do you think that works? Whatever the Kohen decides, we're doing now. Do you know what he's going to decide? No. Does he know? No. So what do you mean it's decided already? The answer is, it's retroactively. It's clarified. That's brera. So the answer for Rashi, the Nitziv and the Merov Yisod, the Sfat Emet, that if you're going to decide something and you don't know what you're going to decide, that is an issue of brera, and that's like the story of the Truma. There, Rabbi Yossi says you can't drink because you don't know what you're going to decide yet now. If you don't know yet now, and you only know later, you can't say that you knew now. But if it's somebody else that will decide something, and you're just basically giving over, you're saying, I don't really want to make a decision here. I'm just giving over decisions to the Kohen, for example, in the case of the birds. So you're giving over the decision to him, and you're not involved. So then that's not an issue of brera. There is brera. So that's the Gemara's text. The Gemara says if that's so simple that there's always brera when it's somebody else, Yahachi might remember. So what's the chidush? If it's not you, if the reason why it's not an issue of brera, of issue of ein brera, because it's not you, it's somebody else. So what's the chidush? The Gemara answers that we're really speaking about a case that after they bought the two nests, and then they separated. So they had 4 birds. 2 nests, they took it all together, and then they separated. Said, I'll take these 2, you take those 2. And each lady said, she gave it to the Kohen, and she said, this is my chatat and olah. The other lady said, this is my chatat and olah. So without this Mishnah, we would have thought that the ladies already decided amongst themselves, this is my chatat and my olah. And she took that bunch, those other 2, and she said, this. So now the Kohen has no way and no right for him to let's say, take the first group of two birds and say, actually, both of them are chatat. One's for you, one's for your friend. And when he gets the other two, he says, these both are olot. One's for you, one is for your friend. We wouldn't have thought that he can do such a thing, because it's been decided by the ladies, the owners. Chamash v'lon. Therefore, the mission teaches us that no. Since the ladies did not establish what the birds would be at the time of the purchase itself, which means the purchase itself will be that when they gave the money, they said, we're giving the money that this bird should be a chatat and this one should be my olah. That's what I'm paying for. That works. But since they didn't do that, they just bought $50. They bought 4 birds, 2 nests, and now after they bought it, so nothing was established in the purchase. Now it's after the purchase. They want to establish it. Nothing to do. The only one who can establish the identity of these birds, the kedusha, is Rav Chizda, like Rav Chizda Torah, Rav Chizda ein akirin mitparshot. Ela ibe lekichas daiden ibe asiyas toim. The kinim cannot be established only by the actual purchase of the owner, or at that time, not after, or by the actual doing and performing of bringing them as a korban by the Kohen. And where does he know that from? He knows that from the fact that the Torah says, when she buys 2 birds, or shnei bnei yonah, echad chatat, echad olah, echad chatat. It's in the buying itself, the Torah says. There's another pasuk that says, "Ve'asa kohen et ha'achad chatat ve'et ha'achad olah." The kohen performs the service of bringing them as a sacrifice. There, so we learn from there that they can be established as to what they are, either at the purchase itself, through the purchase, and being stipulated clearly, or through the Kohen's decision at the time of performing. Anything in between doesn't work, and that's what the Mishnah is teaching us. That the Kohen could do whatever he wants, even though they decided something. They didn't decide it at the right time. So therefore, the Gemara is saying that there's no stira to, and really Rabbi Yossi holds ein breda. Ein breda, wherever it would be applicable, meaning in cases where you're deciding things yourself. Says the Gemara, Kati sabra Rabbi Yossi ein breda, v'tanya amaoret shama lechaver. Okay, as an introduction, a Talmid Chacham, which we call a chaver, may not sell food that is demai, which is food that is bought from an Amaoret. He can't resell that now to another Amaoret, since there's a chiyuv midrabanan, an obligation midrabanan, to tithe, to retithe, take off Masechet, because we're worried that the Amaretz didn't take off. And if you sell this produce to an Amaretz, he surely will not care and not take off Masechet again. So therefore, a Talmid Chacham can't sell the produce of Amaretz number 1 to another Amaretz. So what happened was, there was an Amaretz that told a Talmid Chacham that was going to buy food in the market, Kach li aguda achat shel Yaakov gluska achat. Buy me a bundle of vegetables or a loaf of bread. Okay. Now he goes ahead and he buys vegetable and bread from an Amaretz, and now they're demai, and they need to be meustar, tithed again. And he doesn't say which one he bought for himself, which one he bought for the Amaretz. He doesn't say anything. So the halacha is that before he gives it to the Amaretz, he should have to tithe it himself, because that's the halacha. So the Gemara says, the writer says, Eino tzarich la'aseh. Doesn't have to take off. Why? Because whatever he gives the Amaretz is retroactively clarified that it's clarified now retroactively that was the Amaretz at all times. Which means I bought it, this piece that I gave you this one, this was yours at all times. So I never owned it and sold it to you. I just bought it from the Amaretz to you. That's not a problem. Divrei Rabbi Yossi. That's Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi seemingly holds a brera. That's the problem. Let's just finish the writer. He has to take off master from the bread or the vegetables before he gives them to the Ama Aretz because there's no brera. And it's very possible that the vegetables that he's giving were really his. And the vegetables that the Talmid Chacham is going to take for himself are really the Ama Aretz. So what's he doing? He's exchanging the Ama Aretz is for his. It's like a sale. It's a trade. So you're really selling him your items for his. You're not allowed to sell an Ama Aretz produce that came from an Ama Aretz without taking off master. And therefore the Chachamim say you have to take off master. But I'll call upon him. What do we see? We see that Rabbi Yossi holds of bread. So the Gemara says, Eipuch. Turn around the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. And you should actually say that Rabbi Yossi said what the Chacham said. He said, Tzarech la'aser, because of Ein Breira. The Chacham said, Ein tzarech la'aser, because there's no, because they hold the Breira. Just a second. Just 1 second. Okay, so the Gemara says, Toshima, we still want to bring a proof that Rabbi Yossi holds Yesh Breira. Oh, Imer Maisu Sheyesh Li Bebeisi Michulo Al Sela Shetal Riyot Min Akis. He says, the Maaser Sheni, I want to redeem it, transfer its holiness onto the coin, which is called the Sela, which is worth 4 dinarim, the one that comes out of my pocket. So which one? Which one right now? You have to do it now. Well, the one that comes out of my pocket later, that's the one that now. I don't know which one. So Rabbi Yossi Omer Mechudal, it works. So you see holds of Yesh Breira. The rest is Eipuch. Turn this one around as well. Eiman said Rabbi Yossi Omer Lochida. Rabbi Yossi holds, it doesn't work because it doesn't hold the bread. So the Gemara asks, by the way, the Chachamim argue. But now the Gemara is changing around the whole bright. So the Gemara said, you just change around 2 brightot. In the brighter, when you buy wine from the Kutim, you want to maintain that one. Instead, that Rabbi Yossi says you're not allowed to drink the wine, even though if you decided that you're separating somewhere in the bottle through my master, because Ein Breira. That one's the real one. But the next 2 of them, which is the majority over one, those you want to change, why don't you do the opposite? Change the one and say that he holds a Breira. So the Gemara says, Havada Ibra, because we know that this one has to be changed. Because Havada Ibra Tanya, this is clearly a mistake, because this one is not changed. And Rabbi Yossi actually said that the coin that comes out of his pocket is redeemed, is deconsecrated. Then how could the Sefer say, the Ketana say, Rabbi Yossi, man says the produce ma'aser sheni that I have in my house should be deconsecrated onto the new coin that will come out of my pocket. It will come up from my pocket. So that works. That works. He's modeh. He agrees. He said that at the beginning that it works. Obviously in the ratio it didn't work. So that it's beautiful. That works perfectly. The fact that we just changed it around, so Rabbi Yossi is saying Ein Breira. So the Gemara says very good. But by the way, why is Rabbi Yossi that doesn't hold an Ein Breira? Why does he agree with Stella Chadoshim? He says over there I agree by the new coin. What is this new coin? What's so great about a new coin? How does it change? How does that have any bearing on the halacha? The Gemara says, If you have two or three brand new coins in your pocket, and you're trying to say that he agrees because he holds a brera, then it's exact same case as the first one, when they weren't brand new coins, but you had a few of them in your pocket. And over there he held ein brera, so why would be a difference in the halacha? Elomai, elo the lekel chodo, must be you only have one. So if you only have one, and that's why it works, my talit, of course it works. And why would the Brisa say the one that comes out of my pocket? There is only one to come up. So it doesn't have to come out of your pocket. It could work right now in your pocket because there's only one. So the Gemara says, really the Brisa is talking about you only have one, but I need the Tani Talit, the Tani Reisha Talit, Tana Stefanami Talit. Since the Reisha had to use that lashon because there was a bunch of them in your pocket, so in the Stefan also used that lashon. Now, what's the chidush in the Stefan? There's only one. So Tosafot and the Ritva both say that the chidush is that you wouldn't think that there's no gzeira. That if you allow one, so then maybe you'll also allow two or three brand new coins, and then there will be an issue because there will be ein brera. It's not an issue. If there's one, there's one. It has nothing to do with brera, and everything's fine. Rava, when he told this to Rav Nachman, he obviously felt there's a major difference between halachot dinim, laws of the Oraita, and laws of the Rabbanan in regards to retroactive clarification. And so Rava told Rav Nachman, who is the Tana of the following Brisa that says it is not even Breira, even in regards to the Rabbanan? I mean, if you don't hold the Breira, fine, but you should be agreed by the Rabbanan. But this Brisa has somebody that holds, there's never Breira. Tanya Omar Lachamisha Harenim Orev Al Ezim Mikem She'et. A man tells 5 people, I'm going to you, my 5 friends, you know what? I have a nice loaf of bread here. I want one of you to merit to win the lottery. You know what you want? You want an Erev Tchumen. Probably a yeshiva, right? They made an Erev Tchumen raffle. If you win the raffle, you get the Erev Tchumen. So here's the loaf of bread, and I'm putting this down, but it's not really a raffle. It's just a little joke. What it is like this. A man says to his 5 friends, I'm putting this down for one of you. Okay? Which one? Which one of us? The one I decide when I get there. Ratzisi yelech. Lo ratzisi lo yelech. If the one that I chose that I wanted, he'll be able to walk. He'll be able to use the eruv. The ones that I didn't choose, the other 4 guys, they won't be able to use it. So the halacha is like this. If he chose one of his friends during the day before Shabbos, Eruv works. But if he made the decision, Mishecha Shecha, Ein Eruv Erev. So why not? Why not? Because when he decides, he can decide the next morning. Problem is because Ein Breira. Right? It's after it's already done. Now, if he held Yesh Breira, it would have worked. So you see that this time doesn't hold the Breira, even on Tchumen, which is the Rabban. Ishtik v'le amalei v'le midah. But Nachman, when he heard this proof, was quiet and didn't answer anything. Because he asked him, not this proof, because Rabbi asked him, who is this? He didn't know, so he didn't answer him. Says the Gemara, why did you say it's Ayoy? Because Ayoy before said that in the name of Rabbi Yehuda you cannot use Breira in stories of Eruv. So you see that even in the Rabbanan, Lo Shmiel. But Nachman never heard that price of Ayoy, and that's why he couldn't say that. The Amoraim were not obligated to know all the Brightot. If they were, they would have known them. And don't ask me for the case of Demai, of those that said by Demai, the Ein Breira, by the Keach Me'ama Oretz, case of Demai, because since Demai is rooted in the Torah, because of Maisos and Shumot, it's different. But Tchum D'Rabbanan is a brand new thing. Rabbi Yosef Omar, Rabbi Yosef tells Rav, you want to know who that Braita is? That holds Ein Breira even by Din D'Rabbanan? Tanoi Shaklat Me'alma. Tanoi. You think you took all the Tanoim in the world until nobody's left that holds Ein Breira even by Din D'Rabbanan? Tanoi Shaklat Me'alma. Tanoi. It's a famous Machlekes Tanoim if it's Breira in D'Rabbanan. The Tanya, because we learned in a Braita, someone did not want to exert a lot of effort and placed in Eruv at the end of the Tchum every single Shabbos because he wants to travel more than 2,000 amot. So he places it in one spot where it's protected the whole year. And he says, I am being ma'arev for all the Shabbatot of the year. But Tzisi, if I want this Shabbos, like the following Shabbos, to be one of them, every Shabbos I make this decision. This Shabbos it should work. But if I don't want any Shabbat that I decide I don't want that the Eruv should become my resting spot, I'd rather walk the other way a little bit from my house. So then I won't use it. So then the halakha is if you made the decision before the Eruv was Koneh Shvita, which is not a retroactive thing, it's before the Eruv starts working, during the daytime on Friday, Eruv. Once it's dark, Eruv. He said it works because Yesh Breira, for sure by the Rabbanan, even though we still before that he holds Ein Breira, but he can hold it by the Rabbanan. The Chachamim omrim Ein Eruv. The Chachamim say Ein Eruv because there's no Breira even by the Rabbanan. So you see clearly the Chachamim are the ones that hold Ein Breira even by the Rabbanan. So the Gemara says that's all nice, but Rabbi Yosef is a little bit bothered by Rabbi Shimon. Well, Shamina Rabbi Shimon the less Breira. But didn't Rabbi Shimon say that there's no Breira in the story of buying the wine? He said you're not allowed to buy, when you buy the kutim, you're not allowed to drink the wine, even if you take off, because we're not sure where it's going to end up. So the Gemara says, Ela Epoch. You're right. So Rabbi Shimon has to hold Ein Breira by the case of all the Shabbatot. So he'll turn it around. Say the Chachamim said you could do it. Even after dark. Because they hold the Breira, but Rabbi Shimon doesn't. So the Gemara says, why do you have to change names? My kasha. Maybe Rabbi Shimon doesn't hold the Breira only by the Raita, but by the Rabbanan he holds of it. Because Rabbi Yosef man the Isle Breira, you know why Rabbi Yosef turned it around? Because he says someone that holds a Breira, he holds of it all the time. Man the less Breira, Rabbi Yosef holds there's no difference the Raita the Rabbanan. So therefore, he doesn't hold like what Rava asserted at the beginning that by the Rabbanans, even the ones that hold Ein Breira, there's going to be Breira. Rava Omar, Rava says, really, Reb Shimon holds Yesh Breira. Even for Torah laws, you don't have to change around the Braita. Shani Hatam the Be'inan Reishi. Reb Shimon himself said, you're not allowed to drink when you just call to the Lugin Truma. The Torah says, give the first of your grain to the Kohen. So, Truma, by definition, by its very essence and its very definition, is It has to be the beginning, the first, which means that I have to be able to see the leftovers. The first part I take off is the coins, that's teruma. The rest is the leftovers. And that has to be discernible and recognizable. But Rav Shimon says, there might be breira, but the teruma can't work here. Because when I call 2 of the lugin here, 2 of the ounces in here, whatever it is, there's no clarity between the reshit, the first, which I'm taking off for teruma, and the leftovers. Do you see? Where is it? Show me. Somewhere in here. So you can't, it has to be you have to be able to see that this is the first, and this is the second, the leftovers, and what was left over. We don't see that discernment. So Abaye says to him, if that's true, that according to you, if a person had 2 pomegranates of tevel, and he says, if it rains today, let this pomegranate be truma for the other pomegranate. Now I can eat it, the other one. If it doesn't rain today, then let the second pomegranate be truma of the first. And then I'll be able to eat the first. Are you going to tell me that since I don't know and I can't tell you right now, even if you hold the brayer, but I can't see which one is Reishit, the first, the Teruma, and which one isn't, because I'm not sure if it's going to rain or not. And if you tell me, okay, yeah, good point. Well, you can't, because I can't see it. What's so bad about saying that? So the Gemara says, no, because you can't say it, because about Tanam, we learned in the Mishnah in Terumot, if someone has a pile, smooth that pile of tevel, and he says, Truma takri hazeh, the Truma of this tree. U'ma'aser tov b'tocho. Inside this big pile, there should be Truma and Ma'aser taken off. U'trumat ma'aser zeh b'tocho. And the Truma of Ma'aser, which is the 10th of the 10th. Let's say he had a big pile of Ma'aser Rishon Teruah. It already belongs to the Levi. And he says, inside here, I'm taking off. The Levi could say it also. It should be Terumat Ma'aser to the Kohen. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Kor Hashem. In the first case, the Teruma and the Ma'aser Rishon work. Or the Ma'aser Sheni. The second case, it also works. So you see that even though the shiyareh, the leftovers are not discernible, because show me where it is. It's all one big mixture, somewhere in the middle of it. So even if you say yesh breira, but you have to be able to see it, then I can't show it to you. So shani hasam the ikas tzviva. So the Gemara says, no, that's different. Why? Because Gemara is answering like this: the mixture of where it's all mixed together, the truma and the not the truma. It's only in the middle. In the middle is but all the other stuff around, the outer stuff, that's clearly the shiyarin. That's why I could do it. The ibayitem, another answer is really Reb Shimon holds breira, like we said before, like Rabbi. That's why he allows you to be ma'arev for all the weeks of the year, whenever you decide. Even if you decide after Shabbat starts. So why does he prohibit drinking from the wine? For different reasons. Not because of Shiyera and Nekari. Because there's a bright that actually says the reason. Omru loy. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon told Rabbi Meir that allowed you to drink. They said, aren't you in agreement with us? Shema yibaka hanoid. That even if you hold it breira, it's very nice, but let's say the barrel breaks. It cracks open, splits open, and all the wine spills out before you actually separate the truma. Benimtzes there. So what happens now? Now, whatever I decide later, retroactively was the truma. Now, yeah, but you never decided later because all the wine went down the sewer. So whatever I drank before never got fixed. So it was always tevel. So that should be an issue for you. Omalen, Surmei said, I'm not worried about it. When it breaks. It's a very, very far-fetched thing. You could give it to somebody to watch it. Make sure this doesn't break, because otherwise I'm up to it. So you see clearly that if Shimon didn't have an issue with Breira, he was worried about a gzeira that it might end up falling, and then or a chash, worried that it might be suspected, and that's why you shouldn't do it because you're playing with fire. So the Gemara says, "Ulamai this so like a daitit mi ikar to be inun reisha shashir in the car and my car ambilay." Why didn't you understand that?